All right, Earnestly podcast here again. Second appearance on the pod this year. That's a record.
Yeah.
Matthew Muehliesen. Last name So I'm gonna get it right. Muehleisen, right?
Yeah, you can't really pronounce the U.
I think by the fourth episode, I'll time we do this.
We're getting there.
We're getting there.
A little closer.
What's up, bud?
Lots going on since the last time. It hasn't been too long. I think since my last visit here to the Earnestly Speaking pod. And of course, we've been interacting plenty on Huddle Up, on Take 3, on
Are you sick of, are you sick of me yet?
No, well, we're getting there. Football season hasn't started yet.
Let's see if Christmas comes around. So what happens?
I feel like we just kind of ignore each other during baseball season. It's more during football and basketball that we kind of let the shit talking commence.
Which is weird this year because like both our teams are playoff teams right now.
Yeah,
I mean we're really.
NL East is looking really nice this season.
Yeah, it really is.
I might see
really
three
impressed.
teams. I think we'll see 3 teams from the NL East get into the playoffs. Hopefully, I mean, if the Braves don't make it, then I won't be crushed. But I think the Braves and Mets at this point are looking like pretty much sure things, and then the Phillies are kind of treading water until we get some people back, and we'll see where it plays out.
Well, we'll touch on that in a second. We got that on the docket because one of the things what cool about you and I doing pods now regularly is that you and I can go across the gamut of topics, not just wrestling.
Yep.
Obviously, you're 1/5 of the 3CT 3 Count Thursday podcast now.
One of the OGs. Yeah.
One of the OGs. I can't even say now. It's not now. It's been that way from day one. I'm just saying that, obviously we met through the wrestling parlance, but we've now, started to branch off and talk about other things and stuff on the show, so that's kind of cool. Yeah. But we're gonna start with wrestling anyway because we just had a pay-per-view. Well, excuse me, a premium live event. Right, that's the calling card now in WWE. SummerSlam 2022 has come and gone. I guess I'll keep it simple here. Because remember, this is also the first pay-per-view ever in company history without Vince McMahon.
Yeah,
big deal. So about a week and a half since, I guess, SummerSlam. Anything stood out to you with post Vince? Anything else in creative that stood out to you that was impressive to you or disappointing you? What's up?
I mean, I think there were some little things that we saw that were like a nod to the Triple H takeover or the Paul takeover, however you want to refer to it. There's still a lot of Vince left on that pay-per-view. I think a lot of stuff was already predetermined prior to the changes that were made. But you can kind of see some of the hints of Vince's departure overall within the show. Maybe not so much in the finishes. I think a lot of them went the way everyone expected them to, but there were still some subtle nods and some plans for the future, I think, that were hinted at during the show that speak more to a Triple H type of creative moving forward for sure.
I think the first one we saw off the bat was the return of Bayley, but not so much Bayley's return, but who she brought with her. Her new little crew there, Io Shirai and Dakota Kai.
Io Sky now, which I don't.
Io Sky now, that's her name.
I don't like the name change, but I get it. But yeah, that was definitely the first one that. Those returns, I think, kind of set the tone in terms of what are we going to be seeing next in terms of returns of people who have recently departed that I think we could see back. We've already seen the rumors flying now that a Sasha Naomi return is somewhat inevitable. Hopefully, I would love to see that happen. There's talk of, do we see Johnny Gargano back? Do we get a DIY back together? Do we see Triple H has always kind of been a tag team guy, and we saw that in NXT for quite some time. And then when tag teams come up to the main event, it's sink or swim, and a lot of times they get split up. So we'll see. That's what I'm most interested to see here moving forward, is what the women's division and what the tag team division does from here, because I think Triple H always kind of had his finger on the pulse in terms of what the fans were looking at, and you could see that in the NXT product for so long, and not as much on the Raw and SmackDown roster. So I think that's where most of the eyes of wrestling fans are going to be at moving forward here.
Yeah, you're saying NXT, and I remember saying, like, after Vince, when they announced Triple H as head of creative officially, I think about a week ago, I remember saying one guy I could see getting a nice push just because of his history in NXT, and it's Ciampa. And now he's already getting a U.S. title opportunity next week on Raw. I believe it's on Raw. So you're already starting to see little seeds here of like change, And you know it's Hunter's influence immediately because of those guys that he pretty much molded in NXT down for years now, and now they're on the main roster, and now they're getting pushes, which I'm glad they are. I will say, I haven't watched Raw like in detail. Like I just can't do 3 hours of Raw anymore. I can't do it. I have other things in my life. But watching the snippets, watching the Hulu version, hour and a half, all that, there's definitely a freshness to the show. It feels a little bit. I'm not saying it's across the board, but because there's still Vinceisms there. There's still a lot of Vince, as you said. But I feel like there's definitely some positive changes and freshness to this to the show. And I want to see how SmackDown does as well too, because that show has actually suffered a little bit in the last couple months as well.
Yeah. And SmackDown was always kind of the wrestler show. Raw was the sports entertainer show, and I think we saw a solid mix on Raw this week. I caught the highlights. I didn't watch the full thing, but from what I saw, what I read, we got a lot more of a balance, closer to a balance than we've seen in some time. I'll say it that way. In terms of the wrestling and the sports entertaining and which side is preferable. So I think that's going to be a good indicator what SmackDown does from here too, and what we see moving forward and where we go as the Helmsley takeover continues.
I'm of the opinion match of the night was Logan Paul and The Miz. What your thoughts on that?
It certainly top three. And I think Logan Paul certainly over delivered. It's so tough for me to like Logan Paul as a person.
I hate the guy. I can't stand him, but the devils do.
Yeah. I mean, he certainly delivered. Another one of the celebrities we've seen come into WWE and take it seriously and do a fantastic job. I think more recently we've seen the celebrities that do that have an actual genuine interest and aren't just like doing it for the check. They actually are fans of the product and want to see that. And now with Logan Paul kind of being around long term, I think that this was a nod to, is he really going to take it seriously? And he certainly is. So I would say 100% a top three match. I might still put the main event over it just because of the spectacle that it was.
And that was the most entertaining match of the night. I mean, that whole thing was, Brock Lesnar is a babyface. Is fun, man. He's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. A lot of good spots in that. But yeah, Logan Paul, I think if you're going to put him in with someone, I think The Miz was the smart choice for that feud, for that match. Miz has always kind of been the consummate professional in WWE. Goes over when it makes sense, puts people over when it makes sense, and he doesn't really seem to have an issue with it either way, because as we say on the 3 count, The Miz always wins. He goes home to Maurice, he collects his check, and he's beloved. I think that was a fantastic match, and same with the other part-timer match. I guess we can call 3 part-timer matches were probably the top 3, because I thought McAfee versus Happy Corbin was over-delivered as well.
Your favorite, Corbin?
Yeah, imagine me saying that. And not to take away from Bianca Becky, I thought that match had the best moments with the returns. It kind of ended the feud where it needed to end. We didn't get any oversaturation of a more drawn-out Becky versus Bianca title feud than we need at this point. So I thought that one kind of put everything in a nice package, tied it up with a nice bow, and there was still some solid wrestling as opposed to the other women's match on the card that night.
You mentioning The Miz and the professionalism and the trust and whatnot. It kind of makes sense that the 2 biggest celebrities that we've had the last couple of years, or last year or so in the company, have all been with The Miz in a feud. Bad Bunny, of course, last year WrestleMania, and then now this with Logan Paul. And both matches were, in my opinion, A matches.
And they make sense too with the Miz storyline, because he has always had his toe in the Hollywood scene, not to the extent that we've seen other wrestlers do it in terms of quality, but he certainly has the quantity of movies out there. And as someone who has watched most of them, I can say that he has certainly chosen the right path and stayed in WWE.
Yeah. So what's next with the title? Because they unified in WrestleMania. Roman hasn't really done much since then. because of injury and whatnot. You know, are we? Is the brand split going to be ending? You think? I mean, I don't know, because I feel like unified title. The idea was okay. Unified a title, maybe the brand split ends at some point,
right?
But Roman has both titles. The Bloodline has both tag titles,
right?
And we're now going into August now, and clearly Roman ain't losing it. Probably for a while, not a while longer. I dare venture to say probably till at least for WrestleMania next year. At this point, I think I'm sold on the idea.
And even then, that's 100% going to be Roman versus Rock. So who knows what they're going to do? I don't see The Rock winning a title and having a title reign by any means.
Yeah, I think any person that the Roman faces, you know, whether it's John Cena last year in SummerSlam or whatever, you know, is polishing Roman to be the next guy. The Rock put him over, of course.
I think we've kind of talked about this the last time. That's how long this Roman Reigns has gone on, and it's always kind of been, well, where do they go from here? And they've certainly backed themselves into a corner with it. So I think that Triple H taking over as head of creative probably comes at a right time, because he can start giving that push to someone, make someone a believable threat to the title. Because right now they don't have that, and it's not necessarily by no fault of their own. There wasn't really anyone on the roster that they booked to make sense to take the titles off them.
Well, they do
tag
have
division
that,
with the Usos is a little different. You know, we can certainly see. That being said, I mean, with the Street Profits likely splitting in the coming weeks here,
you think it's gonna happen, huh?
It's seeming to make more sense the more the shows go on here. I think that we're going to see that Montez push, and I don't think that he will necessarily be pushed to the level of challenging for the strap, but pushed enough to have a decent singles run and maybe win the secondary belt.
He can make the mid card matter. I think we were on the podcast last week on Take 3, and we'll talk about, like, one of the topics was what things we like to see Triple H do in the next 6 months creative, and one of the ones I had was make the mid card belts matter. And you have talent guys like this that, okay, you don't get the world title final, it's okay, put them on the US title, give them the IC title. Those titles have tremendous legacy still.
Yeah, absolutely. You know? Absolutely. I think in order to make those matter, though, they first need to put them on someone that makes it seem more important, kind of like they did with Cena back in the day with the US title. I mean, that title was pretty much just a prop until Cena did the open challenge and turned it into something that made it a lot more of a viable secondary title. So they certainly have to start making these things that their roster wants to go after. So I think that Triple H has always understood the importance of that, as someone who's held the secondary titles through his career. I mean, the European title, the IC title, meant a great deal in terms of the stepping stones of Triple H getting to where he got professionally. So I think that he would probably be the one to be able to understand the importance of resurrecting those.
So how would you grade this entire event from Saturday?
I would give it a B. I thought that there were some matches that over-delivered. There were some that under-delivered. There were some that were just bad.
Ronda. And
looking at you, Ronda. But I think that overall, the only reason I wouldn't go A is just because of the predictability. No title changes. You know, we kind of all knew going in that, oh yeah, Bianca's going to leave with retaining her title. Usos aren't dropping their titles. The Reigns isn't dropping his title. Liv, I think we all hoped that she wasn't dropping the title because they didn't want to see anything. So I think just the predictability of it kept that from being an A show. But it was a fun show.
It was a good show. I felt like a whole surf show. But can we touch on Liv real quick? I think I like her a lot. But I'm watching her Saturday. I'm like, and maybe it's because of Ronda. Maybe it's because of Ronda being there and being much more demonstrative, as you know, as a bigger person. I don't know if I'm necessarily liking Liv as a SmackDown champion.
No, I don't either. I understand why they did it with the Money in the Bank thing.
Yeah,
but I think that it's kind of one of those things where it's good that it happened when it did in terms of her cashing in and getting it, because I think the longer she would have kept that briefcase, we might have seen an Otis situation where people were like, why did they do this? Kind of like we're seeing with Theory, which, I mean, I think that one, more people knew going in, hey, don't put this on Theory. That's a bad idea. And they did it anyway. And it's not really.
You're not really feeling the Theory thing?
I'm not personally. If people are, then that's great.
I'm lukewarm on it.
I haven't really heard of people that are pounding the table for Theory. I'll say that.
I'm lukewarm. I think the character is okay, but I just think that it's a little too much too soon.
Made a little bit more sense when Vince was actually there. Now it's just kind of him treading water too.
In the case of Liv, I'm not mad that she has a title. I want it to work. And I'm hoping that maybe by maybe she gets another feud going. Maybe it's more about, for me, it's about believability. And like I look at her like she doesn't look like a champion to me. And I say that maybe because it's the Ronda thing. Let's see what happens. Give her a chance. Let her run a couple more months for this thing. See what happens. But right now, I just don't see Liv Morgan, long term, legendary Raw or SmackDown champion. I don't. It doesn't the same way. Like Bianca sells that, Becky sells that, Bayley, you name it, Charlotte Flair. Liv Morgan, not saying she's not a great wrestler. I just don't see it.
I don't think she got enough of a build. And I know that's kind of supposed to be the point of the Money in the Bank briefcase, is it kind of gives someone that's not as well known that build sometimes. Right. It's just, I think it was a rough spot for her to be in. And there were so many question marks around the women's division at that point anyway, that it just kind of all turned into a mess. 100%.
That said, I'm glad she has the title though. I'm glad she has it. Give her a chance.
I'm certainly glad she retained.
Yeah, exactly that too. All right. One more wrestling thing. Of course, the big story of the year, we call it. Vince Kenny McMahon officially retired. Want to call that? I guess your thoughts on Vince's legacy and everything that's surrounding him now currently. How do you levy all that?
Yeah, I didn't think we'd ever see it. I thought Vince would stay in power until he just kind of passed away, or like his health got to the point where he physically had to step back. I thought that's what was going to be the case. I don't think the circumstances surrounding his departure are always going to be remembered as the greatest circumstances, and rightfully so. But I don't think that it tarnishes the legacy to the extent we've seen some other legacies be tarnished. I think Vince will still always be remembered for what he did for the business, what he did for the company. So many people now who are wrestling fans are fans because of what Vince did for WWF, WWE. So I think that's always going to reign supreme over any other opinions on the man. And so it's tough. Everything right now is so recent that you kind of want to see if there's anything else that comes out, if there's anything else that we don't know. And maybe that's kind of why he stepped away, was just, I want to take the heat off of the company. More so, I want to take the heat off of me. So I will step down. I messed up, and we'll go from here. So I think that with time, the legacy will be remembered more and more in a positive note. That being said, there's certainly opportunity for something to come out that makes it turn, but I don't think we're going to see that now because he went out when he did.
I feel like it's easier though to separate this, especially too with him, because he's a leader of a bigger picture company. Like Vince, thank you for the toys we have. Thank you for the entertainment. Yes, you're a scumbag, but because it's easier to separate this, from like a singular entity. You know what I mean? He's big because while Vince is the reason WWE is what it is, it's a much larger entity than does Vince McMahon. There's a lot of moving pieces, in that. Yeah.
So. And the reason for him departing isn't to the level that we saw, departures, or the reason why the Hulk Hogan legacy was tarnished, or some of the other greats, especially with the Dark Side of the Ring series and having that cast kind of a view on wrestling legends. I think that Vince kind of skirted around that. Probably had some veto power to do that too within that series, but I think that will just kind of keep him as just remembered for what he did overall on a positive note.
And he never claimed to be an angel anyway. Like he almost like said went the opposite way. Like he wasn't this nice guy. He wasn't this, I mean, certainly people have some good stories about, like Undertaker, for example, has like good stories to tell about him. But if you knew followed this business for 20, 30, 40 years, you just knew Vince McMahon wasn't the greatest guy in the world. We always assumed that. So these things didn't shock me. These things that Alex didn't shock me. So
no, not at all. As sad as that is to say.
Exactly. So, okay. Football around the corner. Actually, we got a game in 2 days.
Yeah.
Technically, I don't know how you feel about preseason football. I'm not really a big preseason guy.
I don't really watch it.
I might step in for like a play or two, just whatever. Say, oh, hey, it's Lamar Jackson, and
I might watch like the first game overall, maybe the first like series of the Eagles, and then it's kind of about it.
I don't invest, but the your Eagles are made some moves this offseason. I mean, should be how was what's the pulse like in that crazy ass city of Philadelphia? That man, I mean, that's easily top 2 most annoying fan base in the country. You agree with me, Miami.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. I mean, football always reigns supreme in Philadelphia, so I think the excitement level is always going to be there, even when there's down years as infrequent as they've been recently. I think even the fact that we're getting football back is enough for a lot of Philly fans to just kind of take things and run with it. So I think that level of excitement isn't going to change at all. And I think that's certainly the additions they made both in trades and free agency as well as the draft to just kind of build on that, especially based on the level of success that we saw in the last season. You know, first round playoff exits, not the greatest of outcomes, but for a team that was kind of a question mark and a lot of people thought would maybe be looking at like a top 5, top 10 draft pick. Right. I think the Eagles certainly outplayed expectations last year, so that's always going to have the crowd buzzing as well.
So I got a hot take for you.
Okay.
I know maybe I said it already to you last week, but I'll say it again. NFC East taking 3 teams this year to the playoffs.
You did say that, I think, on either Take 3 or Huddle Up, or maybe it was just in passing.
Maybe on Twitter. Maybe
on
I don't know.
The post show or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see it. I wouldn't be necessarily shocked, but based on where both Washington and New York ended up last year, I don't think Wentz moves the needle enough, especially because of the defense has to play lights out, and there's a lot of injury question marks on that defense. There's a lot, and they play in an absolute dump, so that probably contributes to it as well. I'm not sure that the turf and the grass at FedEx is going to.
That's a good point, actually.
The situation. That's a good point.
I don't know. Like, to me, the only 2 teams in the conference that can spoil that, theory I have is Minnesota in the North. And then if San Francisco and Trey Lance actually put it all together, because otherwise the rest of the conference is really weak because the South's only one team. We know that. I heard people say the Saints are going. No, stop. Sean Payton's gone. Okay, I don't have trust in Dennis Allen to get the job done there.
I mean, it's with the Eagles owning the Saints' first-round pick, I hope that's the case. And it all depends on Jameis too, and which Jameis you're getting.
Right.
Which, as you know, it's kind of a mixed bag.
we got mostly good Jameis in Florida State.
Did,
so, we got the good stuff. So
and then it just didn't really pan out at the pro level, and then it looked like it was starting to put it together, and then the injury happened. So it's kind of a big question mark there in New Orleans for sure.
No, even if 2 teams go to the
so you don't even think Carolina can maybe put up a fight?
No, I think it'll be 7 wins, 8 wins, but I'm higher on Philadelphia this year. In fact, I think I'm actually probably more sold on Philly winning the division now than I was, say, a month ago.
Okay.
Like, Dallas didn't get better.
Right.
Like, Dallas didn't get better, and you can argue got worse. Maybe they're the same as last year, but Philly made
Amari was a big safety net for Dak.
Yes,
they don't have that anymore. So that certainly will be a test.
Right.
I know they've had some injuries at the wide receiver position too in Dallas, so not really any depth for them. It all just kind of depends on CD making the next step and Gallup playing as well as he has these past couple seasons.
So this is obviously a playoff bust for Jalen Hurts, huh?
I would say so. I think not making the playoffs, I would say even making it and losing the way they lost in round one again would probably spell for an exit from Jalen, unless it's just some seemingly unfortunate circumstances for him. But I think that this season's kind of the measuring stick for Jalen and the future here. I think most Philly fans are aware of that. I think even the biggest of Jalen Hurts fans know that this still has to be his season where he shows that he can put it together. If not winning it all, showing great strides.
I haven't nailed down my predictions yet, but definitely Philly's in the playoffs this year.
I hope so.
Definitely.
I hope so.
The Giants still rebuilding. I mean, that's still a mess. Obviously, the
all rests on Danny Dimes.
Well, I mean, I will say this much as a Giants fan. I do think that this is the most positive synergy we've had in the front office to the quarterback, from the front office to the coach to the quarterback, that we've had since Jerry Reese left.
Yeah.
Since Jerry Reese. So at least to have the guys that rebuilt Josh Allen in place now who Generals has similar attributes. I'm saying it's as good as Josh Allen. This has similar attributes and talent. But now it's not to put it all together now. Yeah. But they've also made it clear that it's this year or you're done.
Yeah.
My goal as a Giant fan is not to see. Look, I would love to win more than 7-8 games this year, but it's not going to happen. I like to see productivity. I like to see a positive movement to getting better this year. That's what I like to see. But again, we'll see what happens. What else? Oh, your Sixers. James Harden. By the way, I was saying I meant to do a podcast on this actually a month ago, a couple weeks ago rather. Daryl Morey to me won free agency. I don't know what I don't know what he told James Harden. I don't know what he said to him in those meetings, but for him to get him to take less money and take less years, that's a win for you guys.
Oh, absolutely.
Your thoughts on Harden? You think Harden can turn? I think Harden can turn things around for another year or two.
I think he can. I think getting a full season kind of. I think this summer is going to be the biggest test. We've already seen him kind of taking the training seriously. The Sixers behind Doc Rivers have a very solid coaching staff, and I think that James Harden getting to work with Sam Cassell for a full camp and then a full preseason is going to do more for my optimism, seeing how they come out of that, and then giving them a time to gel. I've talked about this with other Sixers fans, other just basketball fans in general. This season for the Sixers, I think, is one where I'm more excited than I have been, just because there's not a significant change in the starting roster. The past few years, we've seen a big enough shakeup in the starting five that it's like we're starting over again. You know, we go from having Jimmy Butler to now we have Al Horford and Josh Richardson, and now we have Danny Green, and now we have James Harden. So this season, not making significant changes. That's why when everyone over the summer was like, oh, we need to trade Tobias Harris. It's like, you're not going to get the production that Tobias is giving you in return. So if you're just looking to get off of his contract, then that seems to be a step backwards overall. So this season, giving that team a chance to gel, I think, is going to be more important than making a big splash.
What is clear
in years past?
What is clear is there's a 2-year window here.
Yeah,
2-year window. You have to win this year, but you have to win it at least by the second year.
Yep.
And it's smart. Like I said, whatever Morey got in his ear and whatever he told him, he won free agency, in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't think we saw really any panic moves in free agency. We didn't see them bring in any veterans that are going to just take playing time away from people that I want to see develop. You know, I want to see Paul Reed and Charles Bassey kind of grow as the backups to Embiid here. So not having, a Dwight Howard or an Andre Drummond or a DeAndre Jordan behind Embiid anymore, and giving those guys minutes, getting them experience, I think is going to go a long way. And we needed 3-and-D people, and that was the target in free agency, and that's what they hit.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Like, I'm not gonna sit and sing the praise of the Sixers. You know, I'm a Philly guy by all means, but they've kind of become underrated now in the East. Like, everybody's still looking at Milwaukee and Boston and whatever, and Philly kind of went under the radar just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
yeah, I think
that
they took the weaknesses from last year's playoff series, and again, it's all going to hinge upon Joel Embiid staying healthy. Can we get him a healthy series in the playoffs in the second round? And if we can, then I think that certainly they have the supporting cast to take it to the next level.
Right. The third Philadelphia team we'll touch on real quick is the Phillies right now. Right now, as we're
currently getting shellacked by the Braves. Yeah.
damn it, and we're losing to the Nationals by 4-1 right now. 10 back in the East. I mean, obviously the East is pretty much probably not going to win that, but you guys do have currently the last wild card spot right now. You guys won 5 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of impressive actually, doing this without Bryce as long as you have.
Yeah, they really needed to tread water. Losing Bryce and Gene Segura, both from the defensive side of things. In the case of Gene Segura, having that sure-handed second baseman, it speaks volumes, because having Stott and Segura as opposed to Stott and Gregorius on the defensive side is night and day. So I think getting Gene back, getting Bryce back soon, it was a lot of people were looking for a big splash come trade deadline, but it was really more so just kind of getting some minor upgrades and then getting our team healthy and getting everyone back for that big run. So I think that what they did today at the trade deadline was kind of in line with what I was hoping for in terms of not really breaking the bank with prospects and trading for significant upgrades, and just kind of seeing what we have is working. Let's just shore up a few positions here.
Right. I saw today you guys traded for my boy Thor.
We did. Yeah, we got Thor.
Syndergaard. I missed that.
Dave Robertson coming back. Hopefully he stays healthy this time through.
Yeah.
And then getting Marsh out of Los Angeles as well. So now we have an everyday center fielder. I think that was really what they wanted to do. A defensive upgrade in center field, at least. We don't necessarily need the bats, but nice little elevation.
You guys get in, you think? I know. You guys get in the playoffs there, you think? You think you're going to get in, or prediction?
I think so. I think it comes down to, did St. Louis do enough to get past?
Yeah, that's the only thing I know about, really.
And I don't know that St. Louis necessarily did. And even if they did, I think Milwaukee's kind of been treading water lately too. And so I think that the Central only sends one team this year, honestly, and that's the division winner.
Yeah, the only other team right now is even in earshot of Crash's parties is the Giants, and they were sellers this week.
Right.
So the way they're operating is though they're not trying to make the playoffs really necessarily.
Right.
So
yeah,
I don't know. So I would say yes. I mean, you guys have done this without Bryce and whatnot, and you're gonna get Bryce back at some point. They're already started ramping up activity with him and now too, especially. So
importantly, they have the season series win over Milwaukee, over St. Louis, and over San Diego. So that certainly plays to their favor as we get close and get down to the wire here.
I need y'all to beat Atlanta a couple times, though.
You and me both.
Yeah, seriously. I'm going to say this to you. Recent podcast you guys did, you on 3CT, you revealed your favorite band was Incubus.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's my wife's favorite band also, too.
Mm-hmm.
We see them twice. We saw them in 2006. Terrible show, actually. Brandon Boyd was not very engaging with the crowd at all. But then I saw them in 2017. I thought they were for their last album. I thought they were
so 17 was 17 the Make Yourself album. Tour. Oh, okay.
That's what the 8 album. That's what the 8 album.
Okay.
And that's still the last album they put out, if I'm not mistaken. Was 8.
Yeah.
It's been 5 years. So. Favorite song?
Oh, I think Pardon Me is still probably my favorite off the Make Yourself album. But overall, my favorite album is still Science.
Yep, mine too. My wife and I actually last year did a podcast ranking the albums.
Okay.
Her and I, we did our own. You know, I gave mine and she gave hers, and 8-1.
Okay.
Yeah, that was kind of. I'll send it to you, man. It was actually I re-released that this week or something on my little break. But yeah, mine was the Warmth athlete on Also Make It So.
Okay.
I love
Also
that song.
song.
That's a real whale to, you know, the intro.
Mm-hmm.
That's a real whale to use
Oh,
in
really?
the intro. Yeah, it really is.
Huh.
No, Incubus is amazing, man.
Yeah, a lot of fun when they do their shows. Last time I saw them was when they did the 20th anniversary of the Make Yourself album.
So that was 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was right before the pandemic. I want to say
that came out in 99. That's why.
19.
So.
Yeah. So that was a ton of fun. And the Kilmore's local to where I am. He's from like the Mechanicsburg area. He's actually a friend of my wife's cousin.
Okay.
So they usually get into it when they do the Philly shows because they have a tie to that. Ben Kenny from the Roots too. So there's always Philly tie to him.
Yeah. No, Science best album. I totally agree. I totally agree. I actually the only album that I always get annoyed by, I don't know why I just do, because I like the album, but I get annoyed by is Crow.
Really?
I don't know why. I get annoyed by it all the time. And because my wife, her and I started dating, she would overplay that record in a car.
Okay.
Because she was one that she would take over every time we get in the car together. And this is like our early days of dating, take over my radio all the time. Like I had a rule about that, and she broke that rule. Like, you don't touch my radio, never do that, because I'm a music head, and it's like she didn't give a shit. And I was like, oh well, I guess we're made for each other, I guess then, because you don't do it. No, the album, I don't know, for some reason that album seems to annoy me. That's
usually the one most people put towards the top, and it's middle of the pack for me, I would say. I think just because Science Make Yourself, Morning View is really like when I got into them the most. So those three always kind of hold more water for me.
You got them when they got really mainstream.
So when they were on Family Values tour in 98, that was when I first was introduced to them, and that was right when Science was kind of getting big. And then Drive came out shortly after that, and just they took off. That was
Korn, Limp Bizkit,
Ice Cube was
right
there.
Right.
I want to say Orgy was there, or Rammstein. There's a bunch of like, and then obviously like the.
I would have loved to see that tour back then. I didn't see that tour actually. I seen Korn live. I saw Korn years after that. But when on their down years, but they were still really good live actually.
Yeah, I've heard they put on a hell of a show live.
I saw them open for Limp Bizkit. No, Linkin Park in 04. And Linkin Park's not that bad live, but Korn was so good that it was hard to really, hard to like for Linkin Park to at least for me anyway, get on that level. Yeah. I'm into heavy shit. I'm into the heavy stuff. Right. Korn is very heavy, obviously. So at least the early stuff, So
for sure.
Yeah. Last thing for you go. Vacation time for you.
Vacation, yes.
You're going to Cali, you're going to Disneyland.
Yep. Yeah.
Not your first time, right?
Not for me. It's been a while. I have family that lives out there. And they're about 20 minutes away. They're still in Anaheim, but about 20 minutes from the park. So when I was a kid, we would visit them over Christmas, and we would do like a day at the park. This was still when it was just straight Disneyland. They didn't have the California Adventure Park at that point. So it's still been some time. Like some of the rides that they have there were still there, and I'm looking forward to riding them again now as an adult, just because they'll probably be some of them probably more fun for me, some of them probably less fun for me as an adult. But just I've been telling my wife, because she's never been, so the Indiana Jones ride, the Matterhorn, those are the two that jump out to me as the ones that I'll enjoy more. And Mr. Toad is more of a nostalgia thing since they took it out of the world. It's been one that I'm excited to get on now, but since it's been so long since I've ridden that ride.
No, I have family up in Cali also. My mother-in-law moved back there actually recently. She lives in not Anaheim. I'm blanking on it. Freaking, why am I blanking on it for? Anyway, it's Southern California. It's south of Los Angeles, obviously. Okay. But we went to Disneyland actually. I want to say 7 years ago. Okay. Before I had our second kid, and let me tell you something now, because we've gone to Disney World. We live in Florida, obviously, Disney World so many times. So Disney World is the bigger park, obviously. It's more. It's 4 parks there.
Right.
But Disneyland feels, even as small as it is, feels more. You can feel the Disney spirit in Disneyland than you do Disney World. It's weird. Like Disney World feels more corporate to me.
Okay.
Disneyland feels more like I can feel the 50s and 60s. I can feel the old, old guard before Disney World even existed.
Right.
And it's weird because like it's a smaller park and you think you like the big one better, but no. I actually love Disneyland. I was very impressed. Very impressed. Now, of course, this is 7 years ago too, so
right.
I know it's changed since then, but it's fun.
We've done Disney World more recently. We went on our honeymoon, and then a few years later, we did the Food and Wine Festival. This will be my daughter's first Disney trip, so we wanted to see how she handled the 2 parks before.
She's what, 3, 2, 3?
2, yeah, going to be 3.
Yeah, she'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, she's free to get in is kind of the main thing.
At exactly.
This point. But we want to make sure that she's still like cool with it before we invest in a full week down in Florida then, because that you can't do Disney World in less than 5 days.
No.
Whereas we can pack enough in the 2 days in Los Angeles. And if she enjoys it, as she gets older, there's enough other stuff there around Los Angeles. Like we can do Universal, we can do Legoland, we can do all that kind of stuff too, and make that still a trip and go to the parks. So, well,
I know me and Mikey B on Take 3. We I don't have passes anymore. I used to have annual passes. My wife still has hers because she goes pretty often. So she'll do 1 month. If she goes like next week, for example, she'll go to Magic Kingdom, and then she'll go next month again. She'll go to whatever park there is, and Mike and his wife goes all the time too. So we're pretty Disney-fied here on this side of the world. But there's something about there's something about Disneyland though I love, man. It's something authentic about it. Even as many times I go to Disney World and I do enjoy it at times, it just doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel. It feels too corporate. So hope you guys have a good time, man.
I'm really looking forward to. It's more for like us. She's not going to remember much of it being down there. It's more for us to take the pictures and see how she reacts to everything and
create the memories.
Yeah,
so that's funny because that's actually the same age we took our oldest son. He was 2 also. We went 2015. He was 2 years old. And he doesn't remember it, but we took pictures, of course. And he's done this role a couple times too, but he doesn't really remember as much as he should. But I mean, now he's 9. Now he's 9 now. So anyway, plug away. Do you want to anything? Anything want to promote? Plug away.
Yeah, you can catch me on Thursdays. I'm on the 3 Count Thursday podcast or 3 Count. I forget what we go by now these days since we air on Tuesdays too. So 3 Count, 3CT. There we go. You can follow me on Twitter. It's at 3CT Affiliate. You can hear me occasionally on this show. You can hear me. I try to get on as often as I can on the Huddle Up podcast. It's a little tougher to do it a weekly thing come football season, but you can hear me at least every other week on the Huddle Up podcast, and you can catch me on Mondays on the Maximize Monday podcast.
And that's on YouTube, right?
So on YouTube and LinkedIn. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, Huddle Up's fun. I'm looking forward to this year. I haven't told Jim I'm locked in this year for it. So
nice.
Good job, Matt.
All right. Appreciate it.